Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sara Troy, and my guest is Joel Solomon. Happy New Year. May 2021 be a damn sight better than 2020. We know that this last year has affected your finances. And Joel says, let's make everyone in 2021 financially free. How do we do that? Well, he was a hedge fund manager for a very long time, and he kind of chose to walk away from that. And that means walking away from a great deal of profit because his heart spoke to him, his conscience spoke to him. And he wants to have people learn how to reignite their finances, their businesses, their career, their relationships. He has wonderful programs that he's offering in this year. And, he's dedicated to people having a different relationship with money, having a different relationship with themselves around money, how they make money and how they view money. And yes, folks, we all need money in 2021. We've been pretty well wiped out from 2020. But are we going to make money in the same way? Are we going to make it in the same consciousness? And how do we view money right now? Because a lot of 2020 was us going in and looking at life of what really is important. And yes, money is, but how we earn it, what we spend it on, and where the priority is something very different. So happy New Year, Joel.
Happy New Year. Happy, healthy,
yes,
and most importantly, prosperous 2021 to you, Sarah, and everyone listening.
Amen, amen, amen to that. Let's make it so. We certainly do need to come into this 2021 with that approach and that enthusiasm, don't we?
Absolutely. For me, first of all, I like to talk about my daughters. First of all, my daughters, Lauren and Morgan. My company, Sol Lore Moore, is named after them.
Nice.
And they taught me unconditional love. So I'd like to talk about them for a second.
They're your driving force, so most certainly.
They absolutely are. And it's good actually to have purpose, right? To have purpose to make money. And if you're saying, well, it'd be nice if, you really want to have a burning desire. I tell my clients on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is like, I really, really want it. And 1 is, don't really need it, whatever. You want to be high up, 7, 8, 9, or 10 in terms of desire for money. And you also, on a scale of 1 to 10, want to be high in terms of belief. 10 is a knowing that you're going to make money, and 1 is massive doubt. There's no way it's going to happen. So again, you want to have a high level of belief, 7, 8, 9, or 10, a high level of desire, 7, 8, 9, or 10. And then some people come to me and say, Joel, being rich people are evil. You can't be spiritual and rich. And that is a limiting belief.
Exactly.
It's a massive limiting belief. And I know some people were taught that growing up. And I will tell you, it's most spiritual to be rich. Because first of all, if you're not helping yourself by being poor, and you can't help anyone else by being poor. And I will tell you, if you have $10 million, you can help a lot of other people.
Yes.
You can start ending diseases. You can help hunger in different towns. You could actually feed a generation in certain towns around this globe. So having money is a good thing.
Case in point, Dolly Parton gave $1 million to one of the vaccine companies to help them find a vaccine, right? Obviously it cost more than that, but that $1 million made a huge impact. And,
Absolutely.
she's giving back in gratitude. So if she didn't make all this money, how would she be able to help all these things? That's the point about it, isn't it? It's about making the money to put it to service.
Right. So I wrote a book last year called The 9 Money Rules Millionaires Use. only the Unconventional Ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a bestseller both in personal finance and in self-help. And in that book, rule number 6 is called giving.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why and I say it may be the most important of the 9 money rules. So John Templeton, who some say was the best investor of all time, he created the Templeton funds in the 1950s with just a few $1,000s of his own money. And he sold it to the Franklin funds in the 1990s for $1 billion.
Wow.
He said he hadn't met anybody who hadn't given at least 10% of his earnings each year over a 10-year period to charities who didn't have massively more wealth at the end of the 10 years than at the beginning. I know what you're thinking. If I give my money away, I have less money, not more money. How does that work? Well, money is just energy.
Yes.
And by putting that energy out into the world, it must come back to you. And I found in my life personally, it comes back in multiples, especially when you're giving from your heart. Mm-hmm. When you're giving from your heart, the money just flows. And there are a lot of, I say you don't even have to just give with money, because you can give a smile to a stranger. Mm-hmm. You can give a compliment to a stranger. You may have a special gift or talent. You can share that with the world.
Give your time. Giving your time absolutely. Is enormous, right? Mm-hmm.
Right. So giving doesn't just have to be about money, but I actually tell my clients when they're feeling most lack and scarce, give some money, because there is somebody out there who is more in need than you are. There definitely is somewhere in the world, and you just
especially
have to
now.
find them.
Especially
right.
now.
So especially now. So find that person, find that group, and even if you're, especially when you're feeling lack, give a small amount, even if it's a few dollars, right? Because you can change lives with small amounts of money.
And we get bombarded. I especially with my own network, get bombarded by people always wanting a donation, and I try and give wherever I can. But it's also find your cause. Find something you want to support, that you want to back. And if you have the ability to do 2 or 3 of them, fantastic. If it's only one, you haven't got the money to give, but you've got the time to give. That's the thing. What is really enrichment? What really is abundance? That is soul, heart enrichment and abundance first, isn't it? It will manifest the money. It will manifest everything else in your life. But if you don't have that enrichment, then you really are soul and heart poor.
Absolutely. And I talk about this in my book, that giving from the heart is so much more important, because yes, we are bombarded with all these different charities, especially in the last few weeks and months. Back in 2020, I just was getting all these requests, and I think you do need to discriminate which ones really are things that you resonate with.
Yes.
Because I talk about this specifically in my book about feeling required to give. Mm-hmm. A lot of, I used to be in Manhattan a lot in New York City, not so much these days. But when I was in Manhattan a lot, I'd be on the subway and people would be asking for money, or you'd be almost, it was really, really terrible to see. But a lot of the street corners in Midtown Manhattan, you'd see people homeless asking. And if you're giving from, and they could be right in your face too, as opposed to and so there was a time when I was in Grand Central Station, I tell this story, where I happened to go to the bathroom in the lower level, and I come out and I happen to see this woman who was picking through the garbage for bottles, because in the United States, you get 5 cents back on bottles. So, and I felt so bad, and I just pulled out some money and I gave it to her, and the gratitude that she expressed, and she was so grateful, and that filled me up. Mm-hmm. Right? That made me feel so good, that feeling that I can help her. And I was thinking about it afterwards, how I probably saved her a few days worth of work.
Mm.
because she, like think of how many bottles she needed
Yes.
for a small amount of money. And I thought of, and for her, like she was doing something to have some money for herself rather than just going around begging people for money.
Right.
It's, to me, it's a big difference. And there's many ways to make money, small amounts of money, big amounts of money. And, I think, again, giving from the heart is so different. So that, for me, that's why rule number 6 in the 9 money rules is giving.
Um, yes, I absolutely agree. Money is an energy, money is a commodity, it's an exchange of services. I think what has happened, and it's happened since kind of money became important. It's been associated with power. It's been associated with greed. And there's so many people that I've interviewed that were very rich at one point, making a lot of money, but they realized that they had become slaves to the money, to the image of the money. They had become victims of that money because the fear of losing it, the fear of losing that status or that image. And they realized that they were empty on the inside and that they were extremely unhappy because they were serving the money and the so-called prestige that money gave them, and they were not serving themselves or anyone else. And they literally walked away from it and became more enriched doing things that meant more to them. And, a lot of the time that was family, which, when you make big amounts of money, half the time you're working 12, 14 hours a day. Where do you have time for family? So they become the sacrificial lambs. So I think we're in an era right now where, yes, money is important, but it's what we do with it. It's the consciousness around money that's very, very important. But we're not giving money the same well, it's the opulence and the greed and the power of money has become the dirty word rather than money itself. And it's more about how can we put the money to work that can enrich other lives, and that's truly where the enrichment is. So I've seen a huge, tidal wave pretty well of been looking at it from a different point of view, and in a lot of ways that's really kind of what happened to you, isn't it? That seeing money in a different way.
Yeah, so I shut down my hedge fund in 2016, and I had an epiphany in December of 2015, just over 5 years ago. And I was at a personal development course, and there was a guy basically talking about stocks and stock options. He was a guest speaker at this course. And when he started speaking about stock options in particular, he made it sound like it was a get-rich-quick scheme. You don't need much time, you don't need much money. This is how the rich people get rich, and options are essentially riskless. And I was sick to my stomach. This was the second day of the conference. There were 200 people in the room, and people were tapping me on the shoulder and whispering in my ear, "Joel, does this make sense?" So we went outside after he was done, and I said, "Please don't invest in options. He has no idea about your assets or earnings or risk tolerance." And most importantly, rule number 1 in my book, belief in making money and options. And so I literally went into my office the next morning. I sent an email to my investors telling them I'm shutting down my fund. I'm giving them their money back. I found my true purpose, which was to help people become financially free. And, it was interesting because 5 years ago, my biggest fear in life was public speaking. And I was like, how am I gonna get up in front of 200 people and speak like this guy did? And I knew I had to step into my fear and overcome it, because I after that happened, I continued to go to other personal development courses and have seen many people pitch the exact same type of either schemes or other things, which they're really being misleading to people at the very least, and some may say lying. And I have a big job to do to get out there, be authentic, and teach people, for me, the truth. I want people to understand that, first of all, you gotta have a belief in the different asset classes. You need to change your mindset first, and not listen to somebody up on stage who's pitching one thing to 200 people, because we're all individuals and we all have different perspectives. We all have different assets and earnings and risk tolerance and tax status and belief levels. You know, for some, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 people in that audience, options is the way to get rich. But for the other 196 people, it's not.
Yes.
And so you need to know what your route is. It could be a small business. You know, it could be an Amazon fulfillment. It could be real estate or stocks. It could be cryptocurrency, but everyone's different. And so teaching 200 people the same thing doesn't make sense to me.
No, I used to call it the sugar high. You know, so somebody got me to sign up for one of those weekends, you know, from 8 in the morning to midnight, and they just saturate you and they stir you up, and everybody's on this sugar high. And then it's like, sign up for the next course, sign up for the next course, sign up for the next course at thousands of dollars. And A, I didn't have thousands of dollars to do it, and B, you know, just warning signals. You know, I just like, I'm watching everybody as if they've consumed too much sugar. Everybody seems to be rather hysterical about this. I'm drained. You know, I'm drained. I'm looking at this and going, I've just seen people lost their common sense, you know, and they'll sign up for these expensive next courses. And it was just kind of a money grab, selling people an illusion. And you actually do mention that, you know, in your posting about the illusion and this kind of get rich quick, or, you know, money, the more money you have, the better it is an illusion, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, we talk, having a purpose is really important. So, and I, you know, from my perspective, richness or abundance and prosperity is the mindset first, right? And that's one of the reasons why, you know, I talk about this in the 9 Money Rules Millionaires Use, is that lottery winners, 5 years after lottery winners win the money, 95% of them have less money than the day before they won the lottery. Yeah. And the reason is they don't have the millionaire mindset.
Right.
So they're not taught the prosperity, how to shift their beliefs, all the rules that are in my book, the giving, you know, they're probably hoarding, they're not giving. You know,
or somebody's become their best friend and leeching.
So, yeah. And rule number 5 in the 9 Money Rules is be grateful.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure the lottery winners are not so grateful as they should be. Right. And so there's giving, there's gratitude, and they don't believe that they're deserving. You know, their belief level isn't there. And a lot of people come out of the woodwork and telling them this is the way to keep your riches. But, you know, once you have it, it may be even more difficult to retain it if you don't have the mindset.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. There's so many cases there. We had a case here a few years ago in BC, Canada, where a couple who owned a restaurant won several $1 million. And they wanted to keep it quiet, but of course it's publicized. They owned a restaurant. They didn't so much as kind of like free meals on us. They didn't do a thing for their staff, nothing, no bonus whatsoever. They just carried on working and kind of hoarding their money. And eventually they had to get rid of their restaurant because, you know, it was, well, you have this money, but all you're doing is, you know, glum, mine, right, you know, right. Not sharing it, not seeding it, not watering it, you know, and it's I think it can bring the worst out in people. You know, then you've got the other people that everybody that they've ever known in their lives comes out in the woodwork, you know, and leeches off them. Of course, then you have the other people that now want to show how rich they are and they're paying for everything. Right, as you said, 5 years later, it's like, oh, how come there's no money left? Yeah. So mindset is extremely, heart and mindset, I think, are the 2 very important things about when you've come into money, or even when you are, you know, approaching money, right? If it's got to have the right mindset, but if it's not coming from the heart set, you're not doing it right.
Absolutely. And I actually wrote a white paper 2 years ago called 5 Mistakes New Millionaires Make. And one of those mistakes, as you can imagine, is the not using it appropriately. So, you know, I did this a bit, to be open with you. In 2009, I had been working at Citigroup as a hedge fund manager, and I made a lot of money in 2009. I got paid in January 2010, and I did a lot of things for other people, not for myself. So paying, I bought a condominium for my parents, and I set up trusts for my kids, and
Well,
did
that's
a
all
lot of
good,
things
though.
for
That's
other
all good.
people.
That's
But
investing in family.
It's good. It's investing in family, but I wasn't selfish in that. I didn't say, okay, I'm gonna put stuff aside for me. I did eventually like invest in my own hedge fund a few years later, but in 2010 I spent a lot of time and money on others, good, some good ways. But one of the mistakes I talk about in the 5 mistakes new millionaires make is to be a bit selfish. And if you're the type of person to give it away, give it to this person, give it to that person, think about planning for the next 10 or 20 years.
Yeah, I agree with you. I often kind of fantasize about winning the lottery, except for I never buy a ticket, but it's a fun fantasy anyway. And I always go with the 50-50 rule. I'll keep 50%, and that will be investing in my future, securing my own life. And then that 50%, goes out to family, friends, and foundation. And, and I think from kind of going through the scenario so many times, I've kind of got the proportion right. The other thing I think is, if you can, never let anybody know exactly how much money you have.
Yep, it's a good one.
Because otherwise people only see a dollar sign and they don't see you.
Exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say on your comment, there's a famous joke, which actually is in my book as well. And I talk about this where, so this guy, every day, some years ago, he would go check the newspaper. He didn't win the lottery. He checked for his numbers the next day, didn't win the lottery. Day after day, check the newspaper, he started getting really upset. And finally one day he goes outside in his backyard, he screams, "What do I have to do? What do I have to do, God? What do I have to do?" And no answer. He does it for a few days, and then like the 5th day, he's screaming, he's getting really angry. "What do I have to do?" And he hears a booming voice. "Meet me halfway. Buy a ticket."
Yes.
You got to take action. So I
Yes.
talk a lot about law of attraction in my book. The energy put out you get. If you're grateful all day, every day, you're saying thank you, thank you, thank you. There's more things that come into your life to be grateful about. And contrarily, if you're complaining all day, every day, there's more and more things into your life to complain about. The other part of the law of attraction, which I think a lot of people don't understand, is they'll say, okay, well, I'm grateful, I'm sitting, I'm meditating, I'm visualizing, I'm grateful all day. You got to get out and take action. That's the point of the story of the lottery ticket. You got to get out and take action. You have to, nowadays, at least get on your laptop, right? Get on your computer and reach the world. You can't just sit at home all day and just meditate and visualize.
Waiting for the manifest and Amazon delivery. It doesn't happen that way. We have to step into actionism, don't we? That's the thing.
Absolutely. I'd say I don't know any billionaires who sit at home all day and meditate and visualize. They get out into the world and take action as well.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they're also visualizing them.
Yes. They're meditating on how to take the action. Right, that's
absolutely.
The difference. Yeah.
So rule number 4 in the 9 money rules is can visualizing make me money? And the answer is yes. And I go through the specific steps of visualizing, but I say again in that chapter, don't just do that. Do the other steps too. That's why there are 9 money rules, not just 1.
Yes. 2021. Obviously, we're going into it globally with huge deficit. There isn't a country that doesn't have a deficit right now. So many businesses that have been around 30, 40 years have suddenly crashed. So many people without jobs, but other sectors, have employed more people. Places like online on Amazon and so many people. At the beginning of the pandemic, we did a lot of shows of pivoting your business online if you couldn't do it face to face anymore. And that still goes. We're still looking at that, and I think it will be something that will most certainly stay long after the pandemic is over. And it is at the present moment is don't get caught up in the what has been, but look at the possibilities of what can be. And if you are, in the doom and gloom all the time, again, common sense, please wear your mask, have some social distancing, be sensible. We're not out of the woods yet. But get creative and get innovative. And I think for a lot of people that have found success in 2020 is because they were willing to pivot in a totally different direction. And I think that's something we really have to be willing to do, right? That doesn't mean you go against your morals, don't go against your principle, your purpose, but you just go in a different direction of how you're going to use it, how you're going to pursue it.
Absolutely. There was actually an example of a guy who came to me. I give everybody 30 minutes free. So if anybody who's listening, 30 minutes free prosperity coaching, you just go onto my website. That's SALAURMOR.com, again, named after my daughters, Lauren and Morgan, and just click on the link to sign up. But he came to me and we just did one session, and he came back to me a few weeks later because he was in the real estate business and in Manhattan, and things weren't going well back. This was March, April, and he actually got laid off, and he had to rethink his whole life, because his whole experience was real estate related, and he knew where the business was going, or at least, for a year or two.
Yeah.
Not in Manhattan. He was, actually outside of the cities, things have actually gone pretty well. But in Manhattan, where he was licensed, he and where he lived, was going to have a really difficult time. So he actually came up with an idea for a cleaning service with a buddy of his. And now they had the materials. So they now are cleaning schools and apartment buildings to make sure that the virus doesn't spread. And he's done really well in the last 9 months. So he basically had to reinvent himself over the last 9 months, 10 months. And that's a great way to do it. And I read a book recently called Making Ideas Happen. You can have a great idea, but you have to make it happen. You have to have not only the vision, but put it into action, as we were talking earlier. It's Scott Belkey, Making Ideas Happen, great book. So I actually created a program last year in 2020 called Successfully Planning and Expanding Your Business. Because a lot of people wanted to understand, okay, I have this idea, how do I actually get it implemented? So it's online, it's on my website and also on my YouTube for free. It's about a 45-minute presentation on how to successfully plan your business, what things you have to do. You have to really be introspective and know yourself and know your money personality type. So there's 7 money personality types I go through. And then understanding the business plan. Can your business make 10,000 or 100,000 or 10 million? And how scalable is it? And understanding the numbers. You can't just have an idea and say, okay, this is going to do great. You have to understand, do you have to replicate yourself? Can you leverage it with other people, with other resources? So I go through all that and go through, looking at scenario planning as well. I'm a numbers guy. I started my career as an actuary. I think everybody knows the difference between an actuary and an accountant, right? And actuary looks at his feet when he talks to you, an accountant looks at your feet. That was a joke.
I'm sorry. I don't know what an actuary is. So.
Oh, both of them are really boring people. So
okay.
They say an accountant is an actuary with charisma. So actually, what actuaries do is they calculate the premium you have to pay for your insurance policy, your life or health or auto and motor insurance, auto insurance, or home insurance policy. So that's what actuaries do. They're all with numbers. So I started my career as an actuary.
The thing is, clearly you see numbers very clearly. And, I will be very clear, I don't. It's I'm never great at math, but just, I don't see numbers. My vision is seeing people actually from the core inside out. I see soul and heart. I don't see numbers. And so when people start talking numbers to me in percentages and things like that, I will absolutely honestly say it's over my head. But I have a good business and I have a good business plan. But how to monetize that? And I think that's where a lot of people are stuck right now.
Mhm.
There's a lot of solopreneurs out there that are, okay, we know there isn't a lot of money for people to spend right now. I have this great, platform, but how do I maximize it? If I'm not a numbers person, especially in this crunch at the present moment, how do I go about it? And I know I'm stuck there, and I know there's an awful lot of solopreneurs that are stuck there right now. They can't charge the fees that they were charging beforehand. They may be pivoting to slightly different things, but this is their forte. This is their, their calling, their purpose. But they're having to change their entire financial approach to it. So for a lot of us, it is very difficult right now. We don't know what to do.
Yeah, I hear you, and I have a few thoughts, and because thoughts are things, right? And so there are people doing really well right now. There are stocks in the US stock market that have gone up 200, 300, 500% this year. And there are others that have gone down. And it's the same thing with small businesses. Some are thriving and some are really struggling. Some are shutting down. If you're a restaurant or bar in many parts of the country, especially here in the New York City metropolitan area, you're struggling mightily. So, and I've been on calls like this for the last 10 months, back in 2020, and I'm sure it'll continue for the next few months here in 2021, that people are, the belief is that because there is a population that's struggling, my business is probably going to be struggling for a while. And I will tell you that's just a limiting belief. So you can change that belief and say there are lucrative opportunities that always come my way. And I'm all about affirmations and audio files. In fact, on my website, I have free audio files. If you go in, again, it's on salamour.com, SALEURMOR.com. If you go into the manifesting program and you go all the way to the bottom, you can download for free audio files on improving your self-esteem, responsibility, taking self-responsibility, organization, selling, all different types of audio files. If you're okay listening to my voice for a few minutes every day, you can, if you can deal with that, free audio files and free affirmations. So lucrative opportunities always come my way is one. I am an excellent money manager. If you can't believe it, if you're, again, back to belief, if you're not a 7, 8, 9, or 10, and you can't say I am an excellent money manager, and like not, if you have BS, you're calling your mind is calling BS. You could say I am on my way to becoming. I'm becoming an excellent money manager, or if you can't convince yourself that I am financially free, you could say I am on my way to becoming financially free. I'm taking action every day to become financially free. So you can massage the affirmations that are on the website, but I truly believe that thoughts are things. And if you're continuing saying to yourself, as a business owner, as a solo entrepreneur like I am, it's a struggle out there. It's really tough out there, especially during this time. That's not going to be serving you.
Right.
If you can say, there are opportunities out there every day, and you can create new content. I've created a ton of new content in the last 10 months, different types of programs. So I have a whole value chain now, instead of, only doing one-on-one coaching and charging $30,000 a year for one-on-one coaching, knowing that there's a small niche of people that can afford that. Well, that may be a limiting belief as well, but okay. So
well,
I created a whole.
There's also the rational thought there, right? You have to adjust.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So you adjust and you create other programs. So in 2020, I created a program called Peace and Prosperity Now with a world-renowned yoga and meditation teacher. Now, her clientele was used to paying, very small dollar amounts for yoga sessions. So instead of paying charging them thousands of dollars for a 9-week course, starting in January, it'll be $449 for 9 weeks. So we're making it very affordable for people, as opposed to charging them thousands of dollars like I would have a year ago.
Right.
Because we know that, I want to get the information out there. She wants to get the information out there. And we want to help as many people as possible. And we're not going to be serving anybody by charging larger amounts. So, reduce the price point. I think anybody who's a coach who's listening to this, think about reducing the price point and getting more volume, and that's okay. If you're doing group courses, instead of one-on-one, you can do more groups. And that's what I decided to do in 2020. And I'll continue this year doing that as well. More groups, less one-on-one, so I can impact and reach more people.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a one-on-one, it's harder to do a group, and, I charge for my shows because it's a service I'm giving. And, because of COVID, I've said, if you can't afford it, donation to what you can afford. I've left it in the consciousness of other people. And some people have risen to that consciousness and been, very generous, paid the full fee or paid what they can. Some people have ignored it, I leave that in their conscience. But, yeah, I'm not a person, I know I need to change this, that, going after people, for the money, because I always believe that, it's free will. If the request is there. But we do have to kind of adjust to our clientele of what's needed right now. But we've also got to remember that by charging the lower fee right now, you have the referrals later. You have the people that when they can afford it will come back and do the one-on-one. You have the people, that and in a lot of ways it becomes your marketing for you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we are only in a temporary state right now. Yes,
Absolutely.
It could take another couple of years before the financial stability is there, but this is a great time for your seeding of where you want to be in a year or two. Make sure you water it, make sure you nurture it, make sure you pivot wherever you need to, and then you will see, the harvest, when the time is right.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Planting the seeds for the future is important. And so that's what I've done with the different courses. I actually have 2 new courses this year that are starting in just a couple of days. I know it's close, but I'd love to talk a little bit about those.
Yes, please.
I think they can be life-changing, and both of them I've made really inexpensive. So one is called Maximize Your Money. It's starting in just a couple of days, January 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern, that's 4 p.m. Pacific. And it's all about the different apps that are online, to how to budget. We're going to go through what the pros and cons are of each of the apps, and then comparing apps to spreadsheets. Should I use a spreadsheet to budget or not? We'll play something called the budget game, making money fun. And rather than a worry, because I've done this in the past in other groups. When you play the budget game, you shift your feelings around money, and it creates this feeling of prosperity as opposed to lack, and then the money will come in ways you'll be very surprised about.
Right.
And then the other thing, the course we're going to, given I understand that people are struggling now, we're going to go through ways to save, 11 specific ways to save money that I think will pay for the course itself, and also go through how to pay your mortgage differently, where you can save over $20,000 in interest over a 30-year mortgage. And then also how to use the budget game to pay down credit card debt. Because I know people have had to borrow in the last year on their credit card. I'll specifically go through that. So, and then also, what are the good ways to borrow? I understand people have had to borrow, but there are really bad ways to borrow.
Yes.
So I'll go through that.
We don't want any broken legs.
Exactly. But there are payday lenders still in the United States charging 40% interest.
That's ridiculous.
And I don't understand how that's legal, but it's still happening. Don't do that.
Right.
Right. So the course, if you haven't taken a course with me, it's $299.
That's really good.
And that it's actually a 6-month course and you get access to me 24/7 in my Facebook group as well. And so if you haven't taken a course with me before, it's $299. If you have already taken a course, it's $199. And then I have a second course called Getting Comfortable Investing in Stocks. I've had people come to me and they've manifested money and they're like, okay, I need to know what to do with it. So I'm an expert. I managed a hedge fund, $700 million. I know stocks in and out. And so I have in my book, my 5-step proprietary stock screen, which people have told me it's really difficult to understand. If you're not the math guy, it's difficult to understand. So this course is very basic. What the heck is a stock? What the heck is the stock market? What are the steps? Where do I find stocks? How do I invest? And a lot of people back last year in 2020, they got an account in Robinhood and they just started trading without any knowledge. People lost a lot of money last year in the stock market without having basic knowledge. So I want to teach them basic knowledge. So that course, same format. It's over a 6-month period. It's $299. But for those of you listening, if you sign up for both, 50% off. So it's $299 for both.
That's very generous. I was just looking at the news the other day and they were talking about the stock market and how Tesla had just gone through the roof, and anybody who'd been a shareholder there, hallelujah, and yet the sales seem to be low, but the stock market, it was confusing for a non-math person, but what I got stuck on was there's a few multi-millionaires that have
in 2020, which is a really incredible number. And I want to do one more thing for listeners. I want to give away the first 3 chapters of my book. And all you have to do is text to the number 66866, and in the text box, the first 3 words of my book, the number 9, Money Rules. 9 Money Rules, all one word, caps or small, doesn't matter. So text to 66866, 9 Money Rules, and you'll get the first 3 chapters of my book for free.
Excellent. Excellent. We do need help at the present moment. That is the point. And the right mindset, most certainly. We could either see in lack or we can see in abundance. I think 2020 was an incredible year for reflection, reviewing one's life, renewing a different pathway, being grateful for what you do have. People moaning and groaning about having to stay home, or I can't do this and I can't do that. And as I pointed out, you're not in a war zone. There's a silent killer out there, but you're not in a war zone. There's no bombs landing on you. There is no famine out there. There's nobody going to knock at your door and pull you out and take you off to, Nazi camp. We're not in that kind of war. We're in a war that if we all band together and we all look out for one another, we will get through this really enriched and really abundant. So it was a great year for reflection and going in, looking at your life. And again, so many that I've spoken to that have been in wonderful careers, but they traveled a great deal, couldn't travel anymore, decided just to retire, became a consultant instead, and now even busier, but online. As one guy said, I go surfing in the morning, come and do an hour or 2 of my calls and go back surfing. I couldn't do that before. I'll be on a plane and then the next plane and the next plane. So there are some benefits if we're willing to look at what they are. And because everything is so unknown at the present moment, we're not quite sure, what 21 is going to bring. We know that we're in a transition. We know that things need to change. A lot of our energy has to be pivoted into a different direction. And it's a wonderful opportunity for us right now if we go into the right mind heart set as to what the future can be for all of us.
Absolutely. I completely agree, because as we started talking about in the beginning, purpose, right? And I did write another white paper. If anybody wants it, they can email me. It's called the 5 Megatrends Guaranteed to Shape Your Future. And SHAPE is an acronym, and the P in SHAPE is purpose. and purpose will be a mega trend going forward. I reflect back to my first few days and weeks at Citigroup when I was living my dream job at the time. And now I'm doing my true dream. But
right.
back then it was, I thought it was my true dream job. And I'm commuting downtown Manhattan on the subway at 7 a.m. and giddy because I'm doing my dream and I get to manage money. And it was like for 15 years, I was like, man, I really want to do this. I want to align my hobby and my career. And now I'm doing it. So I'm on the subway and I'm checking my BlackBerry, smiling, and I look up and I look around the subway and everyone is with this mean face on, so upset. And, you know, it's 7 a.m. and they have to get to work and they, you know, they're not living their purpose. They're doing something that they have to do because it makes them a little bit of money so that they can, you know, have some money for food and whatever and rent and all that. But they're not, that's not, they weren't doing their purpose. And I think this transition over the, you know, in 2020, and I think it'll continue in 2021, more and more people realize that, wait a second, I wasn't doing my purpose. This is not what I was put on earth to do. And I'm going to search and figure it out, because we, you know, again, like, be grateful that you're here. Right?
Yes.
Be grateful that you're here on earth. And, you know, we don't know how much time we have. Maybe, you know, 2020 gave us that as well, reflection. If you were at all introspective over the last, you know, 9-10 months, you realize that that's a truism. We take for granted, or we believe we're immortal until we're not.
Right. Exactly. And boy, has that pointed it out this year. Yeah. And, you know, we've been living in the last few years of a hurricane, you know, around the world, you know, politically, emotionally, pandemically, and we're looking for the calmer waters. And I think we're in the healing stage right now. Obviously, you know, with the vaccine, with the pandemic, hopefully, you know, more level heads prevail politically around the world. But we're all wanting just to exhale. You know, take that deep breath, exhale, and go, you know, hello, 2021. We're not going to repeat 2020, but we're going to take the lessons we've learned, and we're going to apply it into this year of seeding that abundance, that meaningful purpose. And we're going to make this year a year that's not only enriching for ourselves, but enriching for everybody else that has anything to do with it. And I think if you look at that enrichment of being a ripple effect, not just you in your ivory tower, but seeding the opportunities for other people, that's really where the abundance really grows.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, my first book, Mindful Money Management, chapter 1 is called Being of Service to Others. And I think truly that is what we're all here for.
Exactly.
And being of service to others in whatever way that is, that really what moves your heart. That's what makes you feel whole when you're doing for others.
Yeah.
So I urge everyone who's listening to think about how they could be of service to others in their true job.
A quick story of somebody I interviewed a few years ago, a gentleman called Ryan, and he made money in his sleep. He was just extremely good at it. And he got caught up in the heroin and the cocaine lifestyle. And he ended up again in jail one day. And there was a gentleman there, rather kind of beaten down. But the profound wisdom that he shared with them at that time changed his life completely. And he went back out there and he started something called, you know, Against Stigma. So in other words, addicts who were now no longer addicts, that they didn't get a stigma against them as being employed. He also started Ryan's Fund, which is a fund that started for the children of addicts that get left behind. So they were educated and they have a better life. Had he not taken that journey, he wouldn't have understood the value or the responsibility of what the money that he went back to making good money, but now instead of snorting it, he's investing it. And sometimes we have to look at our negative journeys as being a positive in pointing us in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually just reading a book by the creator of the Dilbert cartoon, Scott Adams, called How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win Big. And he talks about how failure is actually the way to success. And he actually looked for failure throughout his career and used it to propel himself forward and onward. And
But is it a failure? Is it just not a lesson?
Right. It's
Right?
just a lesson learned.
Yeah. I think the
Absolutely.
failure comes in when you get stuck in the woe is me and I'm
Right.
never going to try. That's the failure. You know, it's get back up. What did I
Right.
learn from this? And if you don't even know what the lesson is at the moment, understand that strength of courage to get back up is teaching
Absolutely.
you a lesson that you can do it.
Absolutely. I've been fired, laid off twice in my career. Once when I was working for Swiss Reinsurance Company, I was about to get laid off. And really, I took that job to learn about investing. And the first job I got at Swiss Re for about a year was private company investing. So I was really excited. It was my first job investing. And I jumped at, even though I had a pay cut, I was excited to take that job. And then a year later, the whole division was being disbanded.
Mm-hmm.
And an actuary helped me find a job in the company in credit analysis. So it was something I had already done. And I'm interviewing for the job, and the woman's who's head of the division says to me, I'd like you to come over to Zurich for 3 weeks because I want you to actually work here. And I was like, oh my God, this is my dream.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, 2 years earlier, a buddy of mine was living and working in London. And I was like, man, I want his life. I love to travel. I wish I could do that. So from a failure, quote unquote, from about to be laid off from this company, I get this opportunity to live and work in Zurich for a year and a half, which was the time of my life. I got to visit 30 countries. It was awesome.
Yes.
The second time I got laid off was from Citigroup, when a law that was passed that said banks can't own hedge funds. And I was doing my dream. And I was like, oh my God, how is this possible? I've only done it for 3.5 years. But that actually gave me the kick in the butt to do my true dream, which was have my own hedge fund.
Yeah.
So both times when I got laid off, when I quote unquote failure happened in my life, it led to massive successes.
Right.
And great, amazing things.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention, you talked about that guy in prison.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a number of things. The other thing I'm doing is I'm working with a certified infinite possibilities trainer. I'm also certified to teach infinite possibilities, which is Mike Dooley's New York Times bestselling book. And we're collaborating. She's actually teaching in prisons right now in Rhode Island. Brenda Nagel is her name. And she reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested in teaching prisoners and former prisoners concepts about money, because one of the things she's found through her teaching, she's taught almost 800 prisoners now in the state of Rhode Island. She found that the biggest need is for them to understand money and business. They all want to be entrepreneurs when they get out. They want to understand credit cards. They want to understand how to borrow. They want to understand how to save. So we're collaborating on a new program starting this year, which will be going in. I'll be going in with her to the prisons and teaching about money. She'll be teaching the infinite possibilities. And then we're also going to be doing workshops to former prisoners, teaching them about money as well. So I'm really excited about
Well, that's
that
excellent, because they're not going to go seek money out in the wrong direction. And,
Absolutely.
the thing is for many, whatever crime got them in there was, a delusional thing.
Yeah.
And if we don't prepare them for coming out and give them those skills and those tools, it's going to be just a revolving door.
Absolutely.
And this how many people, I mean, there's the TV show right now called Life, about a guy wrongfully committed, became a lawyer, and got himself released, and then represents other people, even against the system who was still after him. And true story. And the thing is that he was thrown an injustice, but he decided to fight for his justice. And
Yes,
so, people in jail, for whatever reason they're not just to be written off. It's
absolutely.
preparing them for when they come back out to be contributing citizens. And that is giving them a value, giving them self-esteem, showing them that there are possibilities after the gates are closed.
Yeah.
And, we don't do enough of that. We certainly don't do enough of that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So I'm excited for that program to help, and it's gonna. We want it to be national. We want to help people coming out of prisons nationally, and the numbers are really staggering. I think it's something like in the United States, there's, I think it's over 2 million people are in prisons in the United States, and there's 5 million former prisoners.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
And the system.
and the unemployment rate of those people. So I think the unemployment rate now in the United States is down to about 7.5%, but the former incarcerated people unemployment rate is 20. So it's, if we can help them get jobs, get employed, start their own business, it's just going to help
Right.
the whole society.
Here's another statistic for you. 70% of the people in jail were formerly foster children.
Mm.
Right. I've got a whole book coming out this year on our forgotten children and how we need to invest in those kids. And, you think about foster children and how they've been shoved from one place to the other, teaching them any form of skills, forget it. Didn't happen. So if you can get to them, before they come out and give them not only purpose, meaning, skills and tools, but you're also showing them that you see them, that you hear them, and that you're there for them. And for many of them, they've never had that in their entire lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did a program in 2019 for the Boys and Girls Club in Stamford, Connecticut, teaching them basically the concepts in my book, belief and intuition and how to start a business. They were really excited about the business part of it. So we created business plans, and they decided what companies they wanted to start. And we went through, like I talked about earlier on this, successfully starting and expanding a business. How much money could you make in that business? And we did the numbers so they could see, like, if they wanted to start a shoe store or they wanted to have a plumbing business or whatever it was, what the numbers would look like. So it was very enlightening because they're like, oh, I want to see if if this business could make me X dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very interesting. But I told them to pick something they're passionate about.
Right.
Because I truly believe that you can make a lot more money in something you love than something you're kind of like, well, I'm doing it for the money.
Right.
And I'm actually part of a group called the Do What You Love Tribe, dowhatyoulovetribe.com. And we're all a group of people, coaches, angel healers, animal communicators, podcast hosts, prosperity coach, obviously, life coach, and a singer. And we're all coming together to teach people that you can do what you love and make money doing it.
Hallelujah. Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, this illusion that you can't make money in something you're passionate about is just completely out to lunch. Right. Is again going back to what I said in the beginning. How many people, have gone with the illusion that you've got to sell your soul to make money, and you don't have time with family, you don't have time with anything else, or like Ryan, they ended up going down the drug thing, because that was the whirlwind that he got caught in, and the money didn't mean anything to him because he didn't have any value or gratitude for it. But when he found a passion and a purpose, then the money then became something that seeded opportunities and possibilities. And that is the greatest enrichment of all. And that's when the money doors open up, because it's got the right place to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Do What You Love Tribe is pretty amazing. So we have a private Facebook group, and everybody has put on there like a course, like I don't know. I think I recorded something like an hour and a half worth of recording. So everybody, all 8 of us have an hour and a half of recordings on our specialty. And And by the way, it's just launching this month. Those of you who are listening and want to sign up, it's $16.50 US a month. That's it.
Yeah.
And you get access to all 8 of us. And also we do every week we're doing a mastermind, so you can ask us questions or whatever. It's pretty amazing, and we're making it so very affordable so that you can really do what you love, learn that you can do what you love, and then get advice from the experts in 8 really disparate areas. These people are really amazing. I'm really excited to be part of this group because they're all there's a woman who teaches you how to write books. The woman I mentioned earlier, the yoga and meditation teacher, she's in that. So it's an amazing group of people, and eventually we'll be doing this live in workshops around the country, around the globe. But for now, online.
Yeah, exactly. The best teachers are those that have taken the journey. Yeah. You've fallen down the potholes, even the Grand Canyon, but you got yourselves back up. You redirected. You found something that really was meaningful and purposeful, and now the profit is in the sharing. In
Absolutely.
the sharing the knowledge, and wisdom, as far as I'm concerned, is knowing how to use the knowledge. We've all got knowledge in our heads, but if we don't know how to use it, and that wisdom has to come through the heart. And when we step into that heart and that consciousness is there, that I want to do this because it helps people, because it ignites something in someone else, then I think as I said, you're opening that door to abundance in all forms, all shapes and sizes. So having one platform where you've got these people, it's the mastermind, isn't it? But the master heart too.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, so Raquel Hanna is the woman who started. She's also a certified infinite possibilities trainer, singer. She's an amazing woman, life coach, and she put this group together. I'm really excited to be part of it. So that's exciting for 2021. And one final thing I'm doing, my next book is coming out, so I did want to mention that. I collaborated with an amazing couples coach because I had an epiphany a couple of years ago when I was writing my last book that one of the main reasons why relationships end is money.
Yes.
And I checked out, there's very few books that you can read about on how to eliminate the conflict around money in a relationship. So this book will be it'll be out in May. Just a few more months. It's called Infinite Love and Money. And I think it's going to change people's relationship with money in a relationship. So I'm really excited about that.
I was victim to that myself. And it's when you start looking at your spouse with a dollar sign instead of that heart sign, the marriage is in trouble. And, when money troubles are there and you don't know how to cope with them, then the blame game and the shame game happens. And that's when relations start breaking down. So having a skill and a tool of, okay, let's put the money in proper priority. It's there to seed, it's there to produce. And let's also not look at each other as a dollar sign is huge, because I know personally so many people who ended up with a divorce like me because of money. So
communication is key, and we go through a lot of different exercises to improve the communication around money, so that, and there's a chapter on emotions, there's a chapter on beliefs, there's a chapter on your money. So we actually have a survey, which is really cool. If anybody wants it, they can email me for the money personality type. So you fill out, it's 2 minutes. I've had my daughters fill it out, 2 to 3 minutes, and you'll get your money personality type, your primary one. But the point we make in the book is it's not static, right? Your money personality type changes with who you're with. If you're single, married, on the way to being married, if you're older, younger, in different situations, you may act differently. If you're with your parents, with your kids, you may act differently. So your money personality type is morphing all the time, but you have a primary one and you have a secondary one. And it's good to know those, and those change over time too. From age 20 to age 40, they may change. So the point is to do it, the survey every 3 months or so and see where you are. And hopefully after you read the book, you may move from being, one of the not so positive ones to one of the more positive.
Right, right. So let's go through the book titles again and where people can get them.
Yep. So my first book was called Mindful Money Management, and my second is The 9 Money Rules Millionaires Use. Both of them are available on my website at a slight discount to Amazon. My website again is SALAURMOR.com, but you can get them on Amazon as well. And the courses, by the way, you can still sign up. Got 48 hours left. You can still sign up for the courses again on my website. They're on the homepage. Just click. But if you do, we're doing the special. So if you do want to sign up for both of them, email me. Just pay for one, and I'll sign you up for both.
And your email is?
My email is joel@salamore.com. Again, SALAURMOR.com.
Excellent. We all need help in 2021. I don't care who we are, so many transitions have happened. We want 2021 to start off on the right foot. We want it to be something that is going to be fruitful for us. We want to see more stability in our lives, but we also, from 2020, I think one of the biggest things we've learned is, purpose with gratitude. And when we can step into that gratitude and step into that purpose, we can then step into the possibilities and the opportunities. So know, what is it that's your driving force from the inside out? Because 2020 was an inside out journey. 2021 is now manifesting that conviction, that passion, and that purpose into seeding, watering, and nurturing those possibilities. And knowing our relationship with money, knowing how to use money properly, how to be that, the money be part of the watering so the seeds can grow, is something that we need to know, because we are still in uncharted waters. But we've also got to understand 2021 is a blank canvas, and we are the artists. So it's up to us of what we're going to paint.
Great analogy. Absolutely. I believe, you create your life. So put those good thoughts out there, put the prosperous, abundant thoughts out there, and have a vision, and then take action along with that.
Yes. Take action. I said that actionism is the new activism. In actionism, you're talking about it, you're shouting about it. Actionism is doing something about it. Let's make 2021 an actionism year.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Joel. This is starting us off on the right foot. Our relationship with money, how to make it, how to invest it, how to use it, how to nurture it, is something that we need to know. Getting the right mindset, coming from the heart, meaningful purpose. All of those components have to come together to understand how we are going to paint that beautiful canvas. So thank you so much for sharing with us here today.
My pleasure, Sarah. Thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure.
My pleasure. So folks, we've given you some great tools here and some great skills here. Get the books, sign up for this program. Wow. I mean, really, $2.99 for the 2 programs if you sign up right now. This is what you need. You've got to learn to invest in yourself and in your possibilities so you know which way to go sure-footedly. So sign up. Start the foot, as I started off on the right foot, and get the information that you need in order to make that canvas, a beautiful picture. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows, and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.